Hello everyone, I'm Frank, coming to you from the Gothic bedroom, and I've created this channel as an educational resource for information about the world's most important historical things, primarily antiques. I have a degree in history, so I'm an expert in these matters. This first video is going to be about the French trench terror knives of World War I. These knives, by the way, are all on loan from the McGovern collection. Truly an amazing person. He's probably got the world's most powerful collection of antiques, so support him in any way you can. Anyway, to begin, so for a little background, the French army was not prepared for World War I when it began. They ran into battle sort of en masse in bright red pants because the pants were representative of France's esprit de corps, and it didn't go well. There were massive casualties. They had no weapons really for the realities of trench fighting, what World War I would be. So for bladed weapons, they had primarily the average soldier for blades would have had these really long sword-style bayonets and label bayonets. So the sword-style bayonets, this would have been on, I believe it's called a chassepot or chassepot. I don't know how to pronounce it. No one does. That's been lost to history. If anyone knew, I would, because I have a degree in history, so I'd know. So this is one of them. This is called a yataghan bayonet. See how long it is? It's a sword basically. It's like a short sword. So imagine trying to fight in a trench with one of these with this attached to an incredibly long ass rifle too. It would not have happened. It wouldn't have worked. So they found out quickly that they needed to get new weapons. And the other bayonets, the labels that I mentioned, were basically like 2-foot long spikes. So those were the same sort of situation, just not practical. So they had to make their own weapons. So what they would do is they would make their weapons, these sort of, the Germans would call them Ersatz weapons. So they just ad hoc, anything they could find to be stabbing dudes. And the most famous of those, they came to be called the French nail. And I'm not referring to the impressively subtle French adult film, The French Nail, Le Nail de France, de Sexuel, I believe is its title. I haven't seen, I've just heard about it. But the actual trench knife. So the most common, one of the most common kinds of French nails, the sort of classic, the one people often think of, the classical one, is it would have just been a post, like to hold up barbed wire that would have, like the 2/3 of it probably would have been folded into a rectangle for just a rudimentary handle, and then the rest of the post would have been hammered flat and sharpened, so you just had like a spike that was sharpened that you could stab guys with, and it often did the trick. But the other kind were the labels. It was very common to take the label bayonets and grind them down, cut them down, so you just had basically a spike on a handle, on a hilt and on a grip, and that's what you would use. So those also fell under the umbrella of the French nail. And this is an example of one of the labels that has been cut down, or another French spike bayonet. There's a French maker's mark on the back that is you're not going to be able to see. So this one, however, is superior to all other French nails because it is got a bone handle. And you are probably wondering what kind of bone that is. Well, I spoke to my bone experts, and I'm not talking about the cast of the surprisingly compelling adult film, The Bone Experts, but actual osteo bone experts. And when you have a degree in history, you tend to associate with other sort of experts like that, like bone experts and whatnot, so I have people like that I can talk to. Anyway, so I talked to them, and my bone experts told me that this bone is the femur of a German soldier killed in battle. No, I'm just lying. I'm lying about that. No, this. They said it was either a deer or a sheep/ram. And one of my eagle-eyed bone experts pointed out that the quillions, you can call these the little crossguard quillions, if you want to get fancy about it. I have a degree in history, so I can give you permission to do that. The quillions look like ram's horns. So so I suspect this was made from a ram or a sheep. Anyway, so that worked for a while, but and also based on my degree in history, because I have that, I can show you guys how this would have been used, how the average soldier would have used this in a wartime situation, which is not information you're going to get a lot of places. So this bone dagger would have, since it's just a spike here, this would have primarily been a thrusting weapon. So the soldier would have attacked like this, like that. That's how it would have happened. So you're not going to get that information in a lot of places. And also, you are not allowed to say penetrative thrusting of the bone dagger unless you're over 18 and have a degree in history, like I do, or a degree in bone. But if you don't have those, you can't say that. It's not allowed. Anyway, so the soldiers, the French government decided that maybe letting soldiers just scrounge up their own combat knives wasn't the best way to roll. So they began hooking them up, and particularly since the Germans, being Germans, were pretty well prepared for this war, and they did have some effective weapons. So the French government hooked them up with these badass French knives, these badass French trench knives. These are, see, it's got a beautiful scabbard here. It's got a loop to put on the belt, be like a nice wooden handle, and it's got this crescent fresh blade on it. And so these are all original period pieces, by the way. This is probably used to kill a German general or something, World War I. So this was called l'Avenger, the Avenger in French. And this blade, actually, if that looks familiar, it's because this blade became the basis for another trench knife that you may have heard of. Oh, what's out? I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about that later. Maybe if the video gets enough likes, maybe we'll see that again. So yeah, that did the trick. And so that's about it. So the French, they got a. Whoa. Experts in history can drop things if they want. That's it's part of testing the quality of this. So the French got around to giving their soldiers good weapons, good fighting weapons. This became the basis, the blade at least, for even more impressive trench knives, which will be discussed later. And yeah, and if this gets enough likes, which I have no doubt it will, let's say 50,000. I think that's probably modest. I'm sure it'll get a lot more than that. But if we do 50,000, we can talk about other cool French knives and other ad hoc or not weapons of trench warfare, like trench flail. Oops. So that's about it. Please remember to support me on Patreon. For now, it's just going to have to be emotional support. Or like, if I don't have a Patreon account, so like if they have a chat function or something, you can talk about just say nice things about me and stuff. I'd appreciate that. Or you can buy me a coffee. And I also don't have an account with the Buy Me a Coffee app. So, but if you're single, I'm a nice guy. Everybody says I'm a real nice guy. I have a degree in history, so you could do a lot worse. So keep it in mind. Something to think about. Buy me a coffee, and that's it. I will see you next time, folks. And thanks for tuning in, and you are welcome for all this important historical information from someone with a history degree. Okay. Thanks a bunch.